Breaking news. Samurai Tales of Hachimaru, chapter 35. We receive a massive info dump, but oddly enough, I don't mind this info dump that we received, mainly because it's coming from the warrior god FUDO MYO-O, who finally makes his appearance in the series. Well, granted, he made an appearance at the end of chapter 34, but this is where we get him answering the majority of Hachimaru's and Daruma's questions that they have for him. It's really just coming from a very curious area from Hachimaru, but nonetheless, he gives us a massive info dump and hints at a lot of things. Kishimoto didn't do too well of foreshadowing, in my personal opinion, because the hints were pretty obvious throughout the entire chapter. Is that the direction he's gonna go? Can he switch things up later? Yeah, but we're gonna talk about all of that later at the end of the chapter when I give my speculations and things of that nature. But let's go ahead and dive right into this review. But before we get into that, go plus Ultra and smash that subscribe button. It lets me know that you're rocking with the content that I put out here on this channel. And without further ado, let's get into this review. Now, I'm going to go kind of out of order for this chapter review just because of all the information that was dropped to us throughout the entirety of the chapter, but I'm going to try my best to piece it all together in a very cohesive pattern. During the chapter, Hachimaru asked him, "Oh, so you're like the god of the universe, right? Like you created everything." And FUDO MYO-O corrects him. He was like, "No, I'm not a god. He's just the creator of that particular galaxy and of that universe." But he states on page 6 that he came from another universe. So Kishimoto does a service to us by stating that he wasn't God, because the way that Kala is presented is that you have FUDO, who's God, and you have Kala, who's Satan, right? That's how it's been pieced together for us up until this point. FUDO clarifies that what he did in order to create the universe, well, let me back up. He didn't create the universe. He created the galaxy. He didn't create the universe. What he did was, and this is, me paraphrasing from page 7, when he arrived to the universe itself was in perfect balance, meaning that there was absolutely nothing, just a vast number of particles with no weight of their own, free floating. All right. So the first thing that he did when he came to this particular universe that they're in, he emitted what is called an H particle from his own body. And what the H particles did is they unleashed powerful energy from the particle itself. It interrupted the movement of all the weightless particles, breaking down their balance and giving those particles weight. With their newfound weight, the particles accumulated, giving birth to matter. Matter gave birth to the planets and the stars gave birth to the galaxies, along with life, consciousness, and information. But I have to go back and I have to specify, he came from another universe. So what I'm imagining way down the road, because this is only chapter 35, they're going to be universe hopping, like on some Dragon Ball Super type shit. Like they're going to jump from universe to universe. I wouldn't be surprised if they get to a level where they go to the universe that FUDO MYO-O is from himself, right? But that's not for a long time, I predict, okay? Now, I had mentioned Kala, okay, because that was one of the questions that Hachimaru asked him right out of the gate, real early on. We learned that Kala was a direct student of FUDO's, okay? He created Kala, and that's when Hachimaru asked, what is Kala's plan? Why is he doing this? And FUDO explains to Hachimaru and Daruma that he aims to reduce the galaxy to nothing and then create a new galaxy of his own ideal form. He's doing this so that he can specify the rules within the galaxy. FUDO, considering the fact that he is not technically alive, he even then privies on, what's life, what's death. It's all how you look at it. Time is only a relative construct, and that he exists only in a paradoxical state. And then he gives the question back to Hachimaru, saying the answer lies in how you choose to view it. So that's kind of like, him being like some old man guru type shit, some Uncle Iroh philosophy, that he's giving it back to Hachimaru. And the whole time, because, Hachimaru, his whole thing is he hates long, drawn-out explanations. So while FUDO is talking, he just has this look on his face like, you're long-winding this, it's too many words, I'm getting bored. And Durham is trying his best to keep him in check while all of this is happening. So I know I started this entire thing out of order, and I probably should have led off with this, but I feel like now is a better time than ever to discuss it. How did Fudo appear in front of Hachimaru and Daruma at this exact time? Or why did he? That's explained early on in the chapter on page 3. And he said himself, out of his mouth, he said, I arranged for the program to activate me when this license is downloaded by one who is suited to have the key that opens the Pandora and Mandala box. I want y'all to really focus on that for a minute, because he stated out of his mouth, suited to have the key that opens the Pandora and Mandala box. Okay? Meaning that Hachimaru is able to open up both boxes. This is coming from Fudo himself. He didn't say or, you know what I'm saying? And Daruma looks absolutely puzzled. Daruma is looking at this man Fudo like, how are you here? This must be a bug. There's no way you're appearing in front of me. He even at one point questions if the Kogenyashi license is authentic or not, because he's never seen Fudo before. Meaning Daruma isn't able to open the Pandora and Mandala box as far as we know. This is when you see Hachimaru pose a really good question that I think everybody had that read this chapter, and I had at the beginning of the chapter, is that if Fudo created Kala, why doesn't he just destroy Kala himself? And Fudo very easily answers. He says, I cannot undo this state that his body is currently in, which is called the threefold body. And that is why he created the samurai system and left it for Hachimaru, Daruma, and all the other samurai in order to accomplish this thing. That is when we get the explanation of the Pandora and Mandala box, and he says that is why he locked all of his power away within the two boxes. Daruma breaks his cool, loses it, and he says, that's it, Pandora box and Mandala box, where can they be found? This is when you start to get into the philosophical era of this whole entire chapter, but it doesn't really do a good job, because you're able to infer easily, unless I'm reading this wrong, you're able to infer quite heavily what it is that Fudo was talking about in this manner. After Daruma asked that question, Fudo looks at him and he's like, the boxes will not exist until you attempt to see them. When you truly seek the box will be there. Daruma on page 14 does the fed up face that you always see Hachimaru do. And Hachimaru could not resist pointing that out to Daruma, because I think this is the first time we've ever seen him do it, especially in his human form. And Hachimaru was like, you're doing it right now. See, look. Daruma pulls it back and he says, he comes to the realization, he comes to the self-realization, and he's like, that I'm not truly attempting to see the box, ? And Fudo's like, that's not far from the truth. The most important things cannot be seen. Their true nature is clouded by illusion. Fudo gives the example to Daruma, and he states, quote, Daruma, you are in a state in which you are both human and cat. Are you seen as human or are you seen as cat? If the viewer knows both sides of you, then it is the viewer who decides how to see you. Okay? Break that down. What does it mean? I feel like it's pretty straightforward. Basically, if people know Daruma as a cat, then they're only going to see him as a cat. If people only knew Daruma as a human, they're only going to see him as a human, unless they know both sides of him, and then they will see, it's up to them to perceive him how they want to perceive him. Daruma catches on to this. It says, I saw the box, but I wasn't trying to see it as the box. Is that what you're saying? Fudo responds, it is all in how you look at it. Your mind's eye is still unrefined. Daruma reflects and says that his master told him the exact same thing, and that he was still inexperienced, and it made him feel like a cat trapped in a box. Fudo goes on and says that the key to opening the box that is held shut by your assumptions is always found within your own grasps. Hachimaru comes out, and this reminds me so much. I mean, he comes out of his mouth. He was like, oh, hey, real quick. We don't need to know what the keys are for the box if you just tell us what's inside the box. Fudo is, I'm starting to like his character more and more. He comes out of his mouth and says the answer is ... something that only those who open it can know. Hachimaru begs. Fudo says you are already seeing what is inside the box, but you don't realize it. Once again, the observer cannot be aware of its true nature without having the ability to see it. You are just like your master. Hachimaru comes to the epiphany, I'm already seeing it. And this is where I'm talking about the foreshadowing is leaning very obvious in one direction. Hachimaru replies, do you really think someone like me can learn what's inside the box? Even Master can't? Now that is something that depends on how you see yourself, for your possibility are vast as the infinite universe. That's the last page of the chapter, and it finishes off with the Kogenyashi license completed. He is now a holder of the Kogenyashi style samurai techniques, and that's when FUDO MYO completely disappears. Now, go back and reread to, I believe, page 3, where he states that he only was going to appear in front of a user who has the ability to open both the Pandora and the Mandala box. And go back and reread on page 18 where he states to Hachimaru, after Hachimaru asks, do you really think someone like me can learn what's inside the box? ? Even Master can't. And he replies, now that's something that depends on how you see yourself. Is it not just me, or is it really leaning to the fact that he believes that, I mean, well, FUDO knows what's inside the box. He knows where the keys are for both the Pandora and the Mandala box. But it's pretty obvious that he is hinting to us, the readers, that Hachimaru is the box. Like, I don't think he's the key. I think he's the box. I mean, he could be the key. You know, he could be Pandora's box and someone else be Mandala's box, or he could just be one of the keys. But it's really pointing to him being the box, especially after, once you tie that into the examples that he gave regarding Daruma and giving him that, riddle me this Batman question of how do you perceive yourself, or how do other people perceive you? Do they perceive you as Daruma the human or Daruma the cat? It's all a matter about perception, right? Because Daruma's still technically a cat, but he's in his human form. That's what I'm going at right now. He's in his human form now, but he's still a cat. And when he goes into his cat form, he's a cat, but he's also a human. Hachimaru, up until this point, we just think he's a key. But is he the key or is he the box? That is the question that I'm presenting to all of you now. If he is the box, is he Pandora's box or is he Mandala box? This was a long chapter review. I'm not going to lie, but this was a massive info dump and things had to be dissected. I hope that all of y'all were able to keep up with me as I discussed each and every chapter. Leave in the comment section what you believe Hachimaru is. I love this manga. This manga is so good because it's complex. It's not the easiest thing to get into, but once you understand how everything works that we know up until chapter 35, it is such a great and interesting read. It's such a great and interesting series. Kishimoto's outdone himself with this. I do believe that this is going to go down as, a really strong follow-up to his Naruto series. I don't like comparing it. I don't like talking about Naruto when I talk about Samurai 8. I know I've done it in the past, but I don't like to do it because I want this to be its own standalone series. Daruma does kind of look like, adult Naruto. But, it is what it is. Mangakas reuse character designs all the time. I mean, look at Eden Zero and Fairy Tail, right? They all look the same. So, that is all I have for y'all today. If you made it to the end, thank you for rocking with me. If you are new, go plus ultra and smash that subscribe button. Like the video, comment on the video, share the video, and like always, keep it safe and wrap it tight. I'm out.